It's all about the mind. That's really where it's at. It's happening in here. And it's got to happen inside first if you want it to happen outside at all. Some people are waiting and waiting. I haven't got anything. I haven't got anything. And they're whining and crying and, and they're waiting for it to come. What they don't understand, what's coming is a reflection of what they're seeing inside. Most people let what's happening now control what they're thinking. They don't like it, and they're waiting for it to change. It'll never change. That's why I say if your goal is to get out of debt, you're going to stay in debt forever. If whatever you're thinking about is coming to you, it's all about the mind, and it's about your mind, not mine, yours. We're talking about you. What's happening in my life has to do with my mind, but if we're talking about you, it's all about your marvelous mind. Now, we played this slide yesterday. We say understanding your mind and working in harmony with the laws governing the mind is essential. It's essential. And if you're not following it, you're toast, baby. That's just the way it goes. Now look at, we talked yesterday about paradigms. Let's stop and think about what it is. It is a program. You have programs in your computers. You have a program in your phone. There's all kinds of programs in this phone. Do you know there's more power in this computer that's in this phone than the rocket that took the first astronaut to the moon? There's more power in here, in this phone. Think of what we're working with. That's the change that's taken place since then, you see. Well, just the same as the power in here works, or the power that's pulling these slides up on the screen with me, you've got programs in here. And it's controlling your bank account. It's controlling the health of your body. It's controlling your relationships. It controls everything in your life. It is a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. And you got to get this straight. Almost all of our behavior is habitual. What do you think of that, Al? Play with that for a little while. Yeah, look here. Most people are extras in their own movie. They never see themselves playing the game. It's always someone else. It's rather strange, you know. What do you really want? Now, this is a time to think of what you want. I mean, we're coming up on Christmas and, all the religious holidays. And this is where you ask Santa, the gods in the sky we call Santa, please bring me this, please bring me that. As little kids, we're taught, this is what I want. But we're not taught as we go through the year that we can really have everything we want. All we have to do is ask for it. We're only limited by weakness of attention and poverty of imagination. Now think, we're only limited by weakness of attention and poverty of imagination. Imagination is the most magnificent tool. It's a instrument we got in here, and it'll take and create anything in our mind. It's absolutely phenomenal when you stop and think about it. Now, there's a record that I played this record at least once a day. The Strangest Secret. I would imagine you can buy this. You could probably get it on a program of some kind if you just go looking for it. You want The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. Now, do you know, I remember years ago, I had an office, a cleaning company. We started in Toronto. And cleaning means cleaning floors, cleaning buildings. And I would have people come in at 6 o'clock in the morning, the sales staff. And we would sit and listen to this entire record. I'm not sure how long it is. It's probably, 40 minutes, something like that. But every morning, 6 o'clock, every morning, we did it for ages. I had one guy that he got out of the Air Force and he came to work with us. And whenever I played that record, he got so angry with me. And I thought, you'd think this guy, if he would listen to this, it would control something inside. But he didn't listen to this. He did not listen. He listened to the voice inside, the old paradigm. Man, he eventually quit and he went back in the Air Force. Yeah. He's gone now. God bless him. Take care of him. All right? Listen, if you can get a hold of this record, get it. It is 40 minutes of the best philosophy. I was wondering how long it is. I've been saying this 40 minutes for years. 40 minutes, the best philosophy you'll ever find. Is absolutely incredible. Now look here for a moment. Really look closely at this. This is you. You are a mass of pure energy. Like everything, you function on frequencies. And you can experience greatness. All you have to do is get on a great frequency. And you're controlling the frequencies. God, this is so good. Now look it. We played this before. Let's look at the mind and paradigms, because this is where attitude is. Now, you see, if you're letting it bother you that, well, didn't you play this yesterday? I did play yesterday. And for myself, I played it the day before and the day before and the day before. Now look, I earned millions of dollars, literally. I'm really a pretty happy guy. I'm 87. I'm still going strong, and I'm living exactly the way I want, doing what I want. And it's because I listen to this all the time. It's the repetition. Just take my word and do it. Now look it. It's about your mind and your paradigms. Dr. Thurman Fleet was very involved in the healing arts and holistic health. He stated the mind is an activity, not a thing. It's an activity. No one has ever seen the mind. In order to gain clarity and eliminate confusion, I'm going to create an image that we can work with. See, if you're trying to work with something you don't have an image, then everybody's going to build a different image. So we're all operating with different images and trying to get the same result. It ain't going to happen. So I said, I'm going to make an image of the mind. No one has ever seen the mind. Mind is not a thing. It's an activity. It's vibration. That's what the mind is. Mind is activity. It's actually the interchange of ideas in your mind. All right? That's what mind is. Now look it. He said, let this represent the mind. And he took and he divided the big circle into two parts. And he said, we will make the top half of this big circle the conscious mind. And right above the conscious mind, you have the subconscious mind. And the mind operates and expresses itself with and through the body. The body is the instrument of the mind. Now, I have put this, every time I show this for the first time, I have put this statement on. This is the most valuable idea I have ever learned, ever in my entire life. Now, it's about this idea I want to talk to you about. I'm going to play a record. I want you to listen to this record. This is very valuable. This is a record. Okay?
Hello, this is Earl. The magic word is the best for people.
Whoop-hoo.
Hello, this is Earl Nightingale, and this recording, the magic word, is the first of 12 you'll receive in this series titled How You Can Lead the Field in the Modern World. Before we start, I'd like you to know that I'm not going to try to tell you how to live your life. That's none of my business, nor is it anybody else's business. That's your business. Nor is this Lead the Field program a collection of pleasantries, platitudes, or Pollyanna. It is a summation of more than 20 years of research on one subject, and that is, why do some people do so well in life, while so many more do not? And the first thing let's talk about is the magic word. The experts call it the most important word as far as the results we get from life are concerned in this or any other language. And that word is attitude.
Now
it is our attitude toward life, which will determine life's attitude toward us. Let's face the fact honestly that we shape our own lives, and the shapes of them will be determined by our attitudes.
Now, I literally laid the foundation for my life, the way it is today, listening to these records. As he said, there's 12 of them. I literally laid the foundation for the life that I enjoy today. I have a phenomenal life. I'm telling you, it's an enviable life. It is so good, and it keeps getting better. I would listen to these over and over and over again. Now, this is, it's one of the best. This is a program that that you could get and listen to anywhere. We've got the whole thing. We've got it all designed as I worked with it. Every word on here is on there. If you send an email to Arash, A-R-A-S-H, in the company, and tell them you want to get this program, I'm going to tell you it's the best program you'll ever find. I literally built my company on this. I could take you to thousands of people that'll tell you best program in the world, and it really is. Now, Earl said it's the most important word in the English language or any language. So let's follow through here and see what happens. Now, we did this yesterday, but I think it's worthwhile doing it again today. The conscious mind. Now, I literally look at my head as my mind. And I see from here up as the conscious mind. I really do. And I see from here down as the subconscious. You've got to have an image of something. That is the image I hold. Tommy, come on in here for a minute. When you're thinking of attitude, both are, see, that's why. All right. So look, here's the conscious mind. That's your thinking mind. That's your educated mind. That's what the teachers are working with. That's your intellect. All your intellectual factors are there. Most people don't know what the intellectual factors are, right? And I'm talking about brilliant people. Now, the subconscious is the emotional mind, and it operates very different than the conscious mind. Now, look here for a moment. I'm going to show you something. Throw the screen up for a minute. There, Dan, whoever is doing it. Okay? Look at this for a moment. Now, if you are holding an image of this, when you're working on what you want, you start out here and you build a picture of whatever it is you want. I don't care what it is. Doesn't matter what it is. Anything you want. And then you take and you plant that picture in the garden of your subconscious mind. Now, when you do that, you turn that into a desire. Now, desire comes from the Latin deicere, to give birth to the children. This is the child you're going to give birth to. Now, when you plant that there, I'm going to show you what happens. This part just disappears. This, then, is attracted to everything and anything in the universe that's required for the manifestation of this idea. It could be something up here. Could be something up here. Here's something here. Down here, down here. Do you know that every one of them begin to move toward you? Now, here's the crazy part. I remember many, many years ago, Earl Nightingale say, as you start to move towards your goal starts to move toward you. I thought, this is absurd. Of course, I'm seeing a car that I want, and I'm moving towards the car. Well, I could get that, but how the hell is the car going to move towards me? Never got it. Took me years to understand this. However, I understand now, your subconscious mind is your universal subconscious mind. This is the universe that you're tapped into. Now, that may sound preposterous, especially if you've just started to study this. Take my word for it. I've been studying this for over 60 years. This is all I study. I am very good at this. I'm not much good at anything else, but I'm very good at this. Now look at everything that you need for the manifestation that goes already here. You got to believe nothing is created or destroyed. It's all done. The job is done. And when you plant that idea in subconscious mind, it then resonates with all these things. Why? Because it's on the same frequency. What happens if I phone you? What happens when I phone you? I've got your number in here. I can dial your number, and it doesn't matter where you are, I'm hooked up to it. This could be your number out here. And I hook up to your number. Then I attract it, and we get talking. You could be over in Kootakinnabaloo, and I'm sitting in Toronto. And we're connected because we're on the same frequency. Well, you see, everything that's on the same frequency as your desire instantly begins to move toward you. Now, you're going to see that attitude plays an enormous part here. Let's get rid of that for a moment and come back here. Put it back up on the screen. All right? Now, the conscious mind has the ability to choose. How come? Because it can think. It can think. So we can choose. Okay? I'm going to get the wrong thing going here. Hold on. There. Conscious mind can choose because you can think. The conscious mind can accept or reject. Now that is pretty big when you stop and think about it. The conscious mind can accept or reject. When some dumb idea comes your way, you don't have to accept it. When somebody said something crazy, you can reject it. You don't have to accept what people say. And you don't have to tell them that you rejected it. Just think this dummy and reject it. Okay? Now here's something else about the conscious mind. It has the ability to originate. You are a creative being. You are God's highest form of creation. Now let's look at the subconscious. It operates totally different than the conscious mind. It must accept everything you give to it. That sounds pretty wild when you stop and think about it, but it must accept. Why? Because it cannot reject. It has no ability to reject. And get this, it cannot determine the difference between that which is real and that which is imagined. When you start using your imagination, subconscious mind accepts it as real. That's why we're God's highest form of creation. That's why our mind works the way it does. We are truly God's highest form of creation. You have an imagination. Such a magnificent tool. It really is. So let's look now. Just with that information that we've got. Here we are here. Today. Not when I first heard this. Not when Truman Fleet first thought of it. It's today. And there's ideas from social media, from other people, and from Netflix. It's pouring into our consciousness. And we're listening to it and we think this is garbage. Absolute garbage. If I let this into my subconscious mind, I'm doomed. So what do? Get out of here. And I can make it go away. Just, but you know something? Most people don't do that. You know what their problem is? They don't think. Albert Schweitzer, the great doctor from Africa, he was visiting London. This is right at the start of The Strangest Secret. He was one of the reporters was interviewing him, asked him what the problem was with men today. The problem is they don't think. They don't think. You see, instead of telling that stuff to get out of here, you know what they do? They leave it inside and look it. When they're not thinking, their subconscious mind's wide open. It goes right into their subconscious, and the subconscious cannot reject it. You see why it's such a mess? Why can't it? Because of the paradigm. Now, how did this actually happen? How did the paradigm get built? Well, let's take a look at it. We'll close the window here, and we'll come over here. This is you as an infant. This is how you arrive. But let's talk about before you arrive. Let's talk about, we'll go back about 280 days at the moment of conception. Okay? Now think. When a little bit of energy from mom and a little bit of energy from dad come boom together, that forms the nucleus of you. All mom's DNA, all dad's DNA joins together. Now it becomes your DNA. Do you know that there's genetic strains that go back for generations? We don't even know how far it goes back. And that's all built into you. It's all built. It's going to determine where you're going to go and what you're going to do. This is absolutely wild when you think about it. I've been thinking about it for a long time. I see so many things my sister does, and I think, my God, she's just so much like mother. But you know something? I see things I do. They're just so much like mother. Yep, we get programmed. The subconscious mind, when we arrive, has a program that's already written. It came from mom and dad, their mother and dad, their mother's mother, mother and dad. It goes back and back and back a long way. And here we are now. We've arrived on the scene, the little mind wide open, and everything that everybody's talking about is going right into the subconscious mind. And of course, they're in the same environment, they're hearing the same thing. Do you know that almost all welfare recipients are third and fourth and fifth generation welfare recipients? Now think of that. Almost all welfare recipients, they're just waiting for a handout from the city because their parents did, and their parents' parents did, and their parents' parents' parents did. It's rather sad. And they generally congregate in one area of the city. This is pretty wild when you think about it. Now here we are years later, doing very much the same thing. Why would we do that? Well, in the subconscious mind, the paradigm is built. So let's look here. The conscious mind, okay, deals with wants. You have anything you want. It's a marvelous thing to understand. And when we impress that upon the subconscious mind, through repetition, that idea turns into a desire. That idea turns into a desire. Okay? That desire then has to be expressed with and through the body. The body is the instrument of the mind and produces the results. Get that picture in your mind, because that's what you're doing right now. I don't care what you say, this is exactly how it works. Let's keep thinking. Here we are here. There's a power flowing into the consciousness. I think you better blow this up on the screen, put it on the full screen. There's a power flowing into your consciousness. As this power flows in, you think. And then you send those thoughts off into the universe. At the same time, you're impressing them upon your subconscious, and the universe is sending thoughts back to you. The energy that you send out is coming back. That's the way it works. Action, reaction are equal and opposite. Go and blow it up again. The feelings that you're entertaining, you send off into the universe. And the universe sends back to you. Now, here's something you really want to think about. I just wrote the foreword for Reverend Ike's biography. I had the honor of speaking at his funeral. Reverend Ike was an absolutely brilliant human being, I believe. And he made it very clear, if you can think something and you can feel something, then you can have it. Whatever you think and feel, you can have. And he talks about the God within you. And that's where it is. And you see, it's the thoughts that you impress upon the subconscious that set up the feelings. Those feelings are expressed with and through the body. Now pay attention here. That is how your results are formed. 1, 2, 3, bingo. It's the thoughts, the feelings, and the action that produce the results. And that is called attitude. Attitude is your position or bearing is indicating thoughts, feelings, and actions. I'm going to tell you, if your attitude is bad, you are in for trouble. The beautiful truth is, no one can take control of your attitude without your permission. You have the ability to deal with the attitude yourself. You actually do. Yet it's a beautiful thing to understand. Attitude is the most powerful word in this reigning language. It's our thoughts, feelings, and actions. And no one can take control of that away from you. Now, you may have a paradigm that leaves the control to somebody else. You may be reacting to life everywhere you go. A paradigm is a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior, and almost all of our behavior is habitual. So you see, you could actually have a paradigm that blames outside forces, conditions, circumstance, environment for what's going on. I was taught a great lesson by the man that put this in my hand. It was a great lesson. He said, Bob, you are the only problem you'll ever have, and you are the only solution. That's what an attitude is. Now look here. You already know, and you have the power to accomplish most anything you want. You already have that. However, most have not developed a clear understanding of how paradigms are formed and how they control our habitual behavior. This is something you're going to take a real grip on. This is really powerful stuff. This is going to be determine whether you have wealth and abundance. Therefore, we frequently do not do what we already know how to do. We don't do it. Now think. We're not doing what we know how to do. We know how to do a better job. You know, way back in the 70s, I worked with all of the Prudential Insurance Company, largest insurance company in the world. I worked with all of Metropolitan Life, the largest insurance company in the world. 1 month Met was, the next month Pru was, and they just flipped back and forth. They were giants. I worked with them all. They would wait until I come into their territory, and they always knew where I was working by the results that their salespeople were getting. One regional manager could look on their spreadsheet when they'd see the sales of the whole company, and they always knew where I was working. Now, do you know what I did? I just worked on this. I worked on their attitude. I have them making a 9 a.m. call and asking everyone to buy $100,000 worth of insurance. I had everybody doing that. Sales went up by hundreds of millions of dollars. They knew how to do it. They weren't doing it. Now look at superior knowledge, inferior results. That's going to cause confusion and frustration. So let's put our model back up here. Here's Mr. Stick Person, all right, or Mrs. Stick Person. Now you got all this knowledge in your conscious mind. They're smart as anybody you'll ever meet. You talk to them and they're brilliant. And you look at their results and it's absolutely pathetic. How can brilliant people make such obvious errors? How can people that are absolutely brilliant get such terrible results? Think about it. Well, here's why. It's the paradigm that's controlling their life. That's why. It's rather sad. Now look at this. If that person wants to get better results, they got to change things in here. They got to get a new paradigm. And they also have to change the image of themselves. Now, we're going to run over this. Of your life that your paradigm has enormous influence over. This is so important, okay? Your perception is controlled by your attitude. And we can twist this around to self-image, which we're going to. So it's your perception of yourself is your self-image. Put it on full screen, okay? your use of time. Your paradigm controls your use of time. Do you know that everybody gets exactly the same amount of time? It's what we do with it. Our creativity. Everybody's creative. You'll hear people say, well, I'm just not creative. Everybody's creative. You're a creative being. You're God's highest form of creation. Effectiveness. You can become more and more and more effective. And as you do, you're going to become more productive. Here's the big one, though. Your paradigm controls your logic. And you'll say, that's illogical. That could never happen. That's crazy. You couldn't do that. Well, the truth is you can do the things that are illogical. You can do the things that are crazy. You think it was logical that a plane could fly and carry people in it in 1900? No. Not in 1901 or 1902. It wasn't until 1903 that they actually got that thing off the ground. Now, you see, everybody thought it was illogical. And then it was an attitude because they were up for 14 minutes. And somebody says, yeah, but they were only up for 14 minutes. Maybe it was 14 seconds. And they said they were only, and the other attitude was, do you know they not only got it up there, they kept it up there for 14 seconds or whatever it was, might have been 14 minutes. Anyway, this is all attitude. Now look here for a moment. Your ability to earn money is based on your attitude. I'm going to tell you something. And anybody who knows me will say, this is true. I am very good at earning money. I have studied earning money now for 60 years. This is an important subject. You say, well, what do you need all the money for? I don't. You give it in other areas. Your ability to earn money, you can develop. That is an ability that you can develop. Some people are very good at cutting people's hair. Some people are very good at painting people's houses. Listen, you become very good at earning money, and you can do all kinds of good in the world. I am very good at it. I've been good at it for a long time. I learned very early how to earn money. Now look at, it's almost like you're boxed in these areas, okay? Take the walls down, you can go where you want, but they don't. And so we put this wall up all around. They go to change their use of time. I'm going to get up earlier. 3 days later, they're right back into the same slot again. Why? Paradigm. They find a way they can be more effective at work, and they know if they're more effective, they're going to increase their income. But then they find that a couple of days, they're doing the same old thing. Your perception never changes. Always looking at it the same way. Now look at, when you make up your mind that you are going to change your paradigm, you're going to change it, those walls come down. Now, look at, when the wall comes down, everything starts to improve. This is a beautiful thing. It really is. When you imagine, I want you to just imagine how your entire life will change as you begin improving any and all of these areas of your life. The change is going to be huge. And get this, it's permanent. You see, I didn't go back. And I started to study this. I didn't go back. I stayed here. I like this better. I didn't go back mixed with the people who are always complaining, always losing. I stayed with the people who are always winning. And that's what I'd recommend you do. So the changes are not only huge, they're permanent. It's a beautiful thing to know. Now let's imagine you just changed your use of time. Wow. Could you change your income? Well, in both Pru and Met, when I had them making 9 a.m. calls, sales went up by hundreds of millions of dollars. In fact, there was a gentleman, Rudy Michaud. He was a good man. He is a good man. He was a friend of mine. He was the senior vice president in the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company. I worked with him when he was a president, or just senior. He was the vice president of the Eastern Territory, all the East Coast. Then he became vice president of about 40% of the company. I did a lot of work with them. Now I'm going back to the early 70s, mid-70s. His daughter saw me on television one day, and she says, "Dad, I think that's the guy that used to work with you." I really looked, and he says, "Yeah, it is." So he sent a message to our company, and one of the administrators in the service area got it and sent it on to me and asked if I would phone him. He said, "Bob, I just wanted to thank you for the good work you did for me 25 years ago." Not too many people get a call like that. That's how good it was. And this is what we were teaching. This is what we were giving everybody. Yet you can't get better information than this. I don't care where you go. And we talked about this yesterday. Einstein said the intuitive mind is a sacred gift. The rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. And you take a look at your gifts, there they are. They're the intellectual factors. Now look here for a moment. Let's stop and look. Here we are here. There's the mind and there's the body, okay? We'll take and divide it into two parts, okay? There's the conscious mind and there's the subconscious mind. Now, the conscious mind, we have hooked up to it all our sensory factors. You can see, hear, smell, taste, touch. And they're like little antennae sitting there plugged into our conscious mind. That is where almost all the information comes from, our outside world. We look at newspapers, we watch television, we listen to people as they talk to us, and it's coming into our mind. And since our mind is usually wide open, going right to our subconscious, we've got to stop and begin to think. Let's understand this. The conscious mind is also your intellectual mind. And all those powers you've got locked up here: perception, the will, imagination, memory, intuition, and reason. But we learn nothing about them. School doesn't teach us anything about these. And so what happens? Here they are, sitting there, the most valuable tools you've got, sitting right there in your consciousness, and we never learn how to use them. Never learn how to use them. I was having Patty, my designer, make me a couple of signs for a friend of mine. Intuition is most important. Okay? And your intuition is your most. Intuition is God talking to you. That's right. That's spirit talking to you. Comes in the form of a vibration. Now, your conscious mind has the ability to pick up vibration and translate them in your mind. You can do that. It's so good. Do you know, I can walk by a person in a hotel and I can tell you exactly what they're like. I can walk into a boardroom where we're sitting down to maybe sell a company our services, and I know what everybody at the table is like. I know whether they operate from the left hemisphere of their brain, and I should ask them, what they think of what I'm talking about. When I see somebody else sitting there and I know they operate from the right hemisphere of their brain, and I ask them, "How do you feel about this, Harry? What do you think about this, John? Mabel, how do you feel about it?" You see, there is this distinct difference. Some people operate more from the emotional side. Other people are very analytical and they operate from the other side. Well, let's understand how all this works, because we've got all this power locked up in our consciousness. And we've got to understand that when a person tells us they're going to change something, odds are pretty good they're not going to change it, because their paradigm is controlling them. Now look here. It's with these higher faculties that we can tell the paradigm to get out of town. And then we can take and build a new paradigm. Now that's a beautiful thing to know. Look at, your emotional mind is where the paradigm is. But you have the ability, with these higher faculties, They give you control over yourself. With these higher faculties, you can tell the paradigm, get out of town. Then you can go ahead and you can build a brand new paradigm. So you know what you're doing? You're building a program in your subconscious mind that's going to have you doing things that produce results all the time. That's the beautiful thing about studying this material. You see, it was through listening to these recordings that I changed my paradigm. Do you know it took me 9.5 years to find out what I had actually done? I'd gone from being flat broke to earning millions of dollars. How do you do that? Well, this is how you do it. My life changed so much, I really couldn't understand it. And it was because I was listening to these things all the time. See, it's the it's not the information. It's the repetition of the information. The repetition of the information. Throw that screen up there again, Dan, or Tom, whoever's running. I don't know who's doing it. All right? Now look here for a moment. When you take an idea and you keep hitting it, and you turn it into a desire here. Remember what I said? I pointed out when you planted it there, you're opening your mind to something pretty powerful. Now, when you plant it, you are hooking up to everything that you're in harmony with, okay? All these parts here. And they start to move toward you. Now, one of the secrets is to focus. You want to focus on that idea, and you want to stay emotionally involved. So you continually give energy. See, there's a power flowing into your consciousness. We'll take that one and put it out of the way. Okay? And now look, there's power flowing into your consciousness, always. It never stops flowing into your consciousness. Okay? And you make ideas. Well, the repetition of you planting that idea over and over and over gives the idea more power. The more times, the more often you focus on that idea, the more power you give to it. The more power you give to it, the stronger the attraction becomes. The stronger the attraction becomes. Focus is really the key. Let's suppose there's a sign on that wall way over there. It's about 20 feet away. And I want to read that sign, but I can't read it because the room's dark. So I get a candle and I light the candle. I may be able to see there's a sign there, but I couldn't read what's on it because there's not enough candle power. But let's suppose they turn the candle power into a flashlight. That candle power then is focused. It's dedicated and it's disciplined. Then I can read everything on the sign. So do you see, it's important that you keep listening in the repetition.